Hey guys, it's Amber. So today I'm going to be doing a first impressions and review on a product for you. I'm going to be reviewing the L'Oréal Paris Infallible Pro Glow Foundation. It just looks like this. Now this has recently come out on the market, especially here in Australia, so I thought it would be nice to review for you guys. And I also picked this foundation up because I was like, well, sometimes I have very oily skin, so I do prefer matte foundations. However, I do have those days where I'm like, okay, well, I do want a bit of a glow from within sort of feeling vibe. So I thought a product like this may be a good thing to use for my skin, because I can use this foundation and then go ahead and set it with a mattifying powder. Now obviously the mattifying powder may defeat the purpose of using this, however this foundation should still give that luminosity to the skin whilst being set with a powder of any sort for that matter. We will see what it does. The price of this product here in Australia at Priceline, that's what I bought it. You can buy it at any retail outlets that sell L'Oreal. This was $27.95, so not too bad. It has 30 milliliters of product in it, which is the average of all foundations. So to be honest, that's pretty good, standard, simple. Now the only thing I did find a little bit disappointing and poor was the lack of shades. This is the lightest shade, which I don't even know is going to suit me. I mean, it does look light enough in the bottle. This is the lightest shade. This is 201 Classic Ivory. Now, I've never been Classic Ivory with no tan on in a foundation. However, this was the lightest shade they have, so this is what I'm going to use. So we'll see how this comes out of the tube and how it goes on my face, obviously how it applies, stuff like that. On the L'Oreal website for the US, there was 12 shades, and disappointingly enough, there was only one deep shade, and it wasn't even that deep. So people love deeper skin tones. Unfortunately, L'Oreal has not catered. I just find it super disappointing, and by now companies should know that there is a big enough spectrum of people to cater to. It's not just white people, it's not just Caucasian people. There is a whole nother spectrum of people to be catered for. So unfortunately, there is not, there's one deep tone, there's not any super dark tone. So that's honestly not good enough in my opinion, and I think there should be more, especially when you're coming out with a new foundation. 6 shades, in my opinion, really isn't good enough. I love L'Oreal as a brand, but you can do better than 6 or 12 shades. So I'm just going to read you out what it says on the actual bottle itself. It says up to 24-hour foundation, broad spectrum, SPF 15, radiant finish for normal to dry, and it's a hydrating foundation. On the back it says lasting glow foundation, never dull, never greasy. We will find out. Finish, it says radiant, wear up to 24 hours, coverage is medium, texture is airlight. So we will look at how all that goes while I'm applying and how it wears throughout the day. I am going to do a wear test for you guys. So it is currently 10 past 1 in the afternoon. I'm probably going to come back around 3, 4, and then maybe 7, 8. So we'll see how it wears throughout the day. Now on the L'Oréal Paris USA website, the description of the product says, the new pro look of long wear. It's pro with an all-day glow, up to 24-hour foundation. Discover the new pro finish of long wear, up to 24-hour wear with a hydrating glow. Lightweight and creamy, this long-lasting foundation goes on smooth with a glow finish that lasts. With medium coverage, it instantly hides imperfections for a clear complexion. The hydrating foundation with SPF is ideal for normal to dry skin. Now, I know that it says there it's ideal for normal to dry skin, and yes, I know that because obviously it is a pro glow dewy sort of foundation. However, as I said in the beginning, I do want to try a foundation that I can use myself. Yes, I know I have oily skin, but I want to be able to still look radiant. People with oily skin don't just have to automatically go to a matte foundation just because it's the easiest thing to use, and nor should they have to go to a matte foundation because it's the easiest thing to use. I think that brands and companies should be catering for all skin types, and I'm not saying L'Oréal isn't. I'm just saying that what one person wants and what a brand kind of perceives shouldn't have to be what they should have to do, sort of thing. We're gonna see how this goes for my skin tone. I think this product would actually be pretty good and amazing for people with dry skins, because again, it's not going to stick to the dry patches. I mean, I have a few dry patches because I have like a few pimples and blemishes and whatnot here and there, so we'll see how they go on them today as well. But I think it would be more beneficial to people with drier skins. Saying that though, we're going to test it on my skin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prime one half of my face and not prime the other half, because now I have quite big, large and open pores. I've got blemishes, all that jazz, scarring, all that sort of stuff. So what I'm going to be doing is using my L'Oreal Paris, oh L'Oreal, fancy that, Base Magique. And I'm just going to be priming, this half of my face just because I have a lot more texture on this side. Feels really weird priming one half of my face. Now I'm going to be applying the foundation with this wet Chi Chi sponge. I always apply my foundation like this, so we'll see how it goes being applied the same way every other foundation gets applied on my skin. Ooh, it's quite a liquidy formula. I've just put it on my makeup palette. Let's see if I can show you without it running everywhere. It's very liquidy. So I've just let that primer sink into my skin on this side of my face. Now I'm going to start applying. We're going to start on the non-primed side first and see how that goes. It has a bit of a weird smell. This is actually quite light for ivory. I was expecting it to come out quite dark and like oxidize. So we'll see how that goes. The coverage looks pretty good so far, so we'll see how we go. Now we're going to move on to the prime side. It seems to be applying pretty much the same on both sides. Doesn't seem to be much of a difference. It doesn't look like it's settling into any lines as of yet. I think the colour is slowly oxidizing because it's kind of starting to match my skin now. So this is how my skin looks after one layer of application. Now I have to say it actually looks really quite nice on my skin. It is giving my skin quite a nice luminosity and radiance. The only thing I have to say is on the non-prime side my texture is quite a lot more evident, like it makes it stand out a little bit more, but again, I would normally prime. One thing I'm noticing, and I don't know if it's going to be picking up on camera, is there's some like little white flakes just on my cheek here. I don't know if that's going to pick up on camera or not, but I'm not quite sure what it is. I don't know whether it's because that's sinking into my pores or whether it's not loving the primer. Right, I'm going to apply another layer just to see how buildable the foundation is. So I'm going to start off on the non-prime side again. It does go on a lot lighter and then it oxidizes to a really nice colour. The second layer, first off, is applying quite nicely. That second layer on that half of my face actually looks really nice. This half of my face has the second layer and this half does not. So you can see that it has covered up a bit more of my redness on this side compared to this side. So I'm going to go ahead and put a second layer on the primed side. I'd say the coverage is quite buildable. It said medium coverage and I'd agree with that if you were putting on one layer, but it's quite buildable. Like this is pretty full coverage. Like my redness is gone. And it seems to be holding up well on my nose, so that's good because sometimes foundations do not like to stick to my nose at all. So this is the second layer on and complete, and I have to say the coverage is actually really amazing. Obviously this is 2 layers, but with one it was still really good. It covered up my redness and it is very buildable and it builds nice, like it doesn't clump up in sections, it doesn't cake up anywhere, it doesn't stick to dry patches. So I think it looks really, really nice, and it's covered up my skin really, really well. Obviously the only thing is the prominent blemishes I have won't be covered up as much, like this one here and this one here and this one here and all the little Susies that don't want to be covered. They will be more prominent and obviously a little bit more red and harder to cover up, but I usually just go over them with concealer anyway, which is what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to be concealing. I want to see how this foundation works with other concealers on top of it. So, oh, this concealer's a little dark. Yeah, might have to use a different concealer. Okay. Instead, I'm going to be using my Maybelline New York Master Conceal. I'm just going to be applying that concealer with my Ayesa by Kryolan concealer brush. How fitting. Just under my eyes. Now I'm going to be using my sponge again to blend everything out. So we'll see how this goes. Now this concealer does like to crease on me, so I will just say that now because it's not the foundation, it is the concealer. So I'm going to be using my Rimmel Stay Matte Powder to set my face, and we'll see how this looks after. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that bake under my eyes. I'm going to wipe that away shortly. But I feel like my skin looks really, really nice. It looks super airbrushed. I'm just going to zoom you in so you can see. So as you can see, this is what my skin looks like at the moment. That's what we're working with. I honestly feel like the colour is a really good match to my skin. There's no like definitive line. It actually looks so nice. It's a really nice colour. And to be honest, it's covered up my blemishes and redness really, really well. I still do have a little bit of that like speckled spotting like here. I don't quite know what that is. I don't have it on this side, so it could just be the foundation reacting with the primer. I'm not 100% sure, but it's only on this side and it's not super noticeable. Whether that might have also been the foundation wasn't properly mixed, like I didn't shake or anything like that. So that could have also been like the foundation not being properly mixed on that patch. Apart from that, looks absolutely incredible. I'm so happy with the coverage. I do feel like my face looks maybe a tiny bit flat, but that is obviously because I set it with a matte powder because I do have oily skin. However, I do also feel like I kind of have this radiance from within sort of feel. When I use a matte foundation, my face does look completely matte, and I do feel like I have to use very brightening, dewy sort of products on top of it to make it look like my skin is glowing from within, or I have to use a really nice sort of subtle highlighter to give that look to my skin. However, I do feel with this foundation that my skin already looks quite airbrushed, natural. It's not dewy because it won't be dewy because obviously I use a matte powder, but I do feel like I have a bit of a glow from within. My skin has always looked very, very flat. I feel like this doesn't look as flat as usual. This is what I'm saying. But for me, it doesn't look super flat. To you, it probably looks really matte and normal. But for me, because I'm used to having my face from a matte foundation to a matte powder, it looks super matte. This is a dewy foundation with a matte powder. It looks less matte than I'm used to. So I'm gonna see how products blend on top of it. It should be fine because obviously I have powder on, but I will put bronzer on and we'll see how that goes. I'm just gonna be using the bronzer I have closest to me, which is the Dream Sun bronzer from Maybelline. And of course, to go with it, I'm going to be using my favourite brush. This is the Real Techniques Bold Metals in 300. Now it should be fine, as I said, because the powder went on fine, but sometimes they can be a little sneaky and they're like, just kidding, I want to your whole face up. It looks to be fine. It looks to be letting me blend things quite nice, actually. Like, this looks so flawless. Oh, I'm going to be using this all the time. This might become my new favourite foundation. Right, so I feel like that bronzer looks pretty nice, to be honest. Now, I don't know if this is just me, but it does look like it's kind of come off on my nose just there. And a little bit there. So my nose Let's have it a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to be putting a little bit of contour and we'll see how that blends as well. After about 10 years of looking, I finally found the palette. So this is the BH Cosmetics Forever Nude Sculpt and Glow palette. It just looks like this. Yes, I know, very dirty. So I'm just going to be using the middle shade here as my contour shade. Okay, so I think it's safe to say that products are blending on top of this quite nicely. It looks quite airbrushed. This is my very textured cheek, so bronzer and stuff always looks a little bit more harsh on this side than it does on this side. However, they both are blended out the exact same. So it is now, what is the time? It is now 1:54. I will come back in a couple of hours to give you a wear test to see how this foundation goes. Hey guys, so I'm just checking in to let you know how the foundation is going. It is currently 4:24 in the afternoon, so the foundation has been on now for roughly 2 hours. So I have to say it's actually looking really, really good. I haven't had any problems with it. I didn't have any problems with it putting like the rest of my makeup on either. It still looks super, super flawless. My face can go a bit, I wouldn't call it patchy, more just like the foundation likes to cling to certain areas. Around my nose is like an area where foundation really likes to like clump up, I guess you could say. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just because around my nose is really dry. However, of course, this was a foundation for dry to normal skins. I have to say that the clumpiness actually looks a lot better than it usually does, especially if I'm using a matte foundation. I have to say this foundation hasn't sunken into those lines though. On my forehead it's really quite smooth, as you can tell. I usually have a little bit of settling in those lines. I have definitely had settling in the lines of under my eyes, and that is purely the concealer I use. That is not the foundation at all. The settling around my nose crease is not as bad as it usually is, and especially on my chin, like I get a bit glumpy and cakey on my chin sometimes as well, just because I always have blemishes there for some apparent reason. My chin has gone a little bit patchy, but I think that's from eating, number one, and number two, I have done a few things around the house, so which have made me a little bit hot and bothered. So I'm actually really surprised with how the foundation is looking after doing stuff around the house especially. But yeah, after eating, that always like happens because I'm just like not a clean eater at all. That sounds really bad, but you know what I mean. You can't take me anywhere sort of thing. First impressions is it's really good. So what I'll do is I will check in with you guys again around the 7 o'clock mark, I'm hoping for. The lighting will be different, it will change, it'll be a lot darker, so if the lighting's a little bit off, I'm sorry about that, but I'm using natural light. I don't have any artificial lights that I can use. So if the lighting is a bit off, that will be why. I might try and do it a little bit earlier, maybe around 6 o'clock, but we'll see how the lighting is and I'll let you guys know. Obviously I'm going to do a check-in, but right now it's looking pretty good and I have nada to say bad about it. I am really happy with it, and I honestly think this foundation is going to become one of my favorites. Hey guys, it's currently almost 7:15. I don't know if you can see that or not, but please ignore my hair, I just took it out of my ponytail. I've come back to give you my final thoughts on the foundation and how it's worn, etc. So this is how my skin looks up close. I have got my ring light on in front of me. It's just like a little stand ring light, so that's why I look kind of shiny. Bear in mind I do have oily skin, as I said at the beginning of this video. Right, so the only things I really have to notice, obviously there's got to be general wear and tear of a foundation. Let's be honest, it doesn't last all day. I have taken off my lipstick, so that's why my lips look crusty and dry. There's obviously a bit of wear and tear on my nose and around my, in my nose creases, I guess you could say. Apart from that, I feel like the rest of that foundation actually looks really quite nice still. I feel like it looks still quite airbrushed, still really flawless. Bear in mind now it has been, it's roughly been about 6 hours of wear now, but let's be honest, no one's gonna wear a foundation for 24 hours like it said. Like, I know it can go up to that, but no one's gonna wear a foundation for 24 hours. nor am I going to test that because I need my beauty sleep. For the amount of time that I've had it on today, I honestly think that it looks really, really good. I still think it looks really flawless. Again, it hasn't settled into any of my fine lines, so I think really the only thing that I have to say is general wear and tear, but overall the actual foundation itself is really, really amazing. I think the coverage is phenomenal. Like, I put 2 layers on, but even the first layer was enough to cover like all of my redness and everything like that, so I think that's really good. And I know, as I said, it's a Pro Glow foundation, so it's for more, or not oily, that's me. It's for more drier to normal skin type people. However, I did want to see what it was like on my skin, and I have to say, setting it with a mattifying powder, yes, it may have made my face look flat to you. However, I noticed the radiance from within glow that the foundation was about, especially as the day progressed, as the powders kind of started wearing off. Like, I don't know if you can tell now, but my face looks a bit more radiant from within. So I'm actually really happy with how the foundation provided and how it worked with my skin. I would highly recommend it, especially if you do have that more dry skin. Like I said, like matte foundations can kind of attach themselves, that sounds weird, but I can get dry patches around blemishes that I have at the time with a really mattifying foundation. So I think this one did a really good job at not making my face look dry, especially the fact that I had a matte powder on top of it. I think it did a really good job, and it's held up really well for me having oily skin using a dewy foundation. 6 hours where it's still looking like phenomenal and like airbrushed and everything. I could like go out and it would still look this good like for another 6 hours possibly. So I honestly think this foundation is really good. Overall, I'm really happy with this product and I definitely recommend it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. I really hope you enjoyed my first impressions and review of this product. If you want me to do more first impressions, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out, and let me know what you want to see in the future. Also, leave a comment down below if you feel like it. All my social media links will be in the description box. As always, thank you again so much for watching. Bye!